This is the case for armed rebellion. My name is Conrad. Nearly 250 years ago, people living in the British colonies of America would gather and discuss the matters of life and dealing with the British Crown. Among these, some men made the case for armed revolution. History has proven them correct. Independence movements followed throughout all parts of the world. 250 years later, could the same case be made today? The word on the street is that a second American Revolution would take place if the government were to go door to door and collect guns. Now, certainly from a perspective of logic and reason, people participating in that potential revolution would be justified in doing so, based on the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, based on natural law, based on common law, and just the common sense of conscience and justice. They'd be defending their property, their right. On that day, the case for armed revolution would be easy and widely accepted. But what about today? The way this came about is I thought back to and read Patrick Henry's speech in which he famously said, "Give me liberty or give me death." He made the case for armed rebellion on that day, March 23rd, 1775. Now, could that happen today? Why or why not? Because our oppressors don't wear red? Let's explore it. It's not that there are no Patrick Henrys today. There are. But no one cares about what they have to say. There's nobody in the audience listening to them. We actually have Patrick Henrys today. But it's that people are not interested in freedom. But why aren't they? Well, what creates interest in freedom? Restriction of freedom creates interest in freedom. That's why the colonists were so interested in freedoms, because they had armed guards stationed outside their house. They every day had foreigners, the British, they had these people interfering in their daily life. So people in uniforms outside patrolling them, that'll make a patriot out of you. Occupation makes patriots out of common men. Well, we don't have armed guards outside of our door, so we must be more free than they were, right? Is that the case really? Are we more free than they were? Depends on your answer to this question. Who is more free? The barking dog with a leash on? Or the dog without a leash who doesn't bark but has an electric collar that will shock him if he does? Are the cage-free chickens really cage-free? Because they don't get to keep their eggs either. They end up at the store just like the caged chickens. So, just a question for you. Now, the case for armed rebellion was made by Patrick Henry in his speech by pointing out that the British were sending more ships. They were mobilizing people in a military form, bringing them to the shores of the American colonists. The militarization of the overseers. And we certainly have seen that recently. Signs of a police state, the military and the police being alerted and preparing for domestic threats. You could look this up. The National Guard overseeing COVID vaccination operations. You saw that with your own eyes. People who lived in the cities did. This was the first time an American generation saw military uniforms conduct traffic. The COVID-19 pandemic was the closest that the United States have been to martial law. I've had people tell me to watch what I say concerning this, but this case needs to at least be explored, right? I'm not saying act on it, but it is time to explore the possibility, explore the logical justification for the case to be made for armed rebellion, and when to do that, because that's the principle that this nation was founded on, right? Founded on. Oh, now the Inflation Reduction Act assigns $80 billion to the IRS. Social media bans and internet censorship is expanding. Started with David Icke, then Alex Jones, then famously Donald Trump. Jordan Peterson now got banned from Twitter. Now these are clearly preparations being made. Now, not that easy to argue that, because the IRS is a federal agency while Twitter is not. So there's a bit of the chain breaks off there. But does it? That's why the 2022 case for armed rebellion is not as clear cut as the 1776 case for armed rebellion. And why? Let's cut to the chase. from now on I'll be talking very plainly and clearly. In 2022, slavery is covert, oppression is multi-layered, tyranny is advanced, and the control system is more nuanced. The gas chambers did not work. The iron fist did not work. Bombs and tanks wake people up. Instruments of discourse arouse resistance. Remember, like I said, that occupation makes patriots out of common men. Well, there's no occupation. Instead, we are lulled to sleep. You know? The king took his crown off, put on a suit, and started calling himself a public servant, and we buy it. Now we are still the servants. That's reason number one, covert slavery. Reason number two, unlike the colonists, we actually believe in the hierarchy of oppression. We buy the master's mentality, the pyramid, the caste system. Meaning what? It's not just the king at the top, the nobility, and everybody else, the peasants. Everybody has somebody above them and somebody under them. So this is the way. This is what is called a self-reinforcing system of slavery. Is that everybody's a master over somebody and a slave to somebody. Now the corporate model is a beautiful reenactment of that. Everybody has a boss that they fear, but they also are managers. They have somebody under them that they treat like shit. Divisions of race, division over how much money you make, over social status. This is all putting us somewhere along the pyramid, and we all strengthen it. Why do people do this? Because they don't actually want the hierarchy to fall. They just want to be on the level above them. This is my freedom, not freedom for all, the my freedom movement. That's a self-reinforcing system of slavery. Reason number two. Now reason number three, you got the decentralized web of power. Meaning what? Orders no longer come down as royal decrees from the king, and not even government laws. It's decentralized, it's spread out. Meaning, how do orders come down to us now? Recommendations from public health organizations. It's not mandatory, but if you want to live life normally, you do it. What else? Political dissidents are no longer in prison. They're suspended for violating community guidelines. We'll see if that happens with this video. Enemies of the king no longer have to pay tribute to the king. They just pay the courts when they get sued for defamation. Proving this web exists, that would be engaging in conspiracy theory. Decentralized web of power, that's reason number three. Reason number four is what connects the previous three. It's the glue that holds them together. Which is what? Is that our oppressors are not foreigners. They're our own neighbors and countrymen. The colonists never had to deal with this problem. Because these will be the people that will be fighting to enslave us are the same people that sit with us at the dinner table. Right? They're our own family members. They fly our flag. They speak our language. They're fans of the same sports team. So if and when the orders will be given to the police and military, every man and woman is going to have a real tough choice. Are you going to stand up, rise up against your own fathers, sons, and brothers? Because that will be the reality on that day. But reason number five, relative prosperity. And this may actually be the most impactful factor of why a message of revolution does not resonate with people. It's because most of us have enough to keep the lights on and keep the water on, right? We don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from. We all have a smartphone. Most of us can afford to watch our favorite team or our favorite show on the weekend. We can go out. We can even afford a vacation once in a while. So even though everybody works their ass off from sunrise to sundown, and you got half your money taken in taxes, we live just comfortably enough to not want to sacrifice the little comfort that we do have. So when people hear armed rebellion, they cannot justify it to themselves, because they're not treated badly enough, but at the same time they don't believe they should be treated any better. That's a problem. Next, which brings me to reason number 6, addiction, pleasures and indulgence. Through modern soft slavery, people have just a bit of free time and just a little bit of extra money for escapism and alleviating a bit of their suffering. Most people, they get drunk on the weekend, they get high or if they don't do that, they just hide in their shell until Monday morning. Most people are addicted to something. Probably almost all people are addicted to something. And the colonists didn't have this problem either. They didn't have advanced mind control technology of social media dosing them with shots of biological pleasure chemicals, endorphins. They didn't have that. They didn't have self-learning algorithms that were bombarding them, targeting them with subconscious marketing. They didn't have 1,000 options at the grocery store or 100 options of streaming channels, right, to satisfy their urge for consumption. Now this is one thing that worked for Stalin. This worked for the Iron Fist. Is getting people drunk, because people don't really want to put down the bottle and pick up the gun. Hey, if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? And reason number 7, illiteracy. Yes, illiteracy. Now I know that everybody knows how to read and write, but technology has moved forward, but we, the slaves, have stayed in the past. We haven't kept up with the new. Now the people who won the American Revolution, they were learned, up to date. So that's why they could not be played or fooled. Well, we can get played or fooled, because we on the other hand have been losing ground technologically. Most people don't know how to find censored information online, opt out of tracking and surveillance programs. They can't set up a camera and upload videos, edit them, and make a website, right? People spend more time on their phones, and the phones are inherently devices made for consumption, right? So they're inferior as an operating system, and they were created for consumption, not content creation, not production. Furthermore, children are learning on phones, tablets, or browser-based laptops, and that makes them dependent on a certain app or platform for finding information, right? So people are not learning to use the tools that they have to their full capabilities. And this is like only learning to read a certain genre, only learning to read children's books, or if you were to limit your vocabulary to a 4th grade level. And this is true illiteracy. So what do you have? Covert rulership, belief in authority, decentralized power, self-policing, relative prosperity, addiction, and illiteracy. These are the 7 things that discourage armed rebellion today. Now, the American Revolution was a great loss for slavery. An armed rebellion based on sovereignty under natural law changed the world. Once the cat was out of the bag, there was no going back to the way things were. So what happened? Slavery had to go into the underground. They had to go into hiding. But since 1776, slavery, the concept, has been training. They've been preparing for the counterattack, right? And what we have been doing, we've been chilling. That's it. We've been kicking back. So what we have today is a refined system of slavery coming back with a vengeance. This is a formidable opponent who suffered a painful loss, and he's learned from his mistakes, and he wants revenge. With a chip on his shoulder, you know, that's slavery today. Human beings suffer from the chronic disease called slavery, caused by the bacteria that is the belief in the authority of certain people over others. The Revolutionary War was an antibiotic treatment that fought back the illness but did not kill it completely. So what happens? Slavery is back as a supergerm, right? Superbug, resistant to the treatments that worked before. Why? Because we didn't finish the job. So the 2022 Patrick Henrys have their work cut out for them. The people believe in politics. They believe they can choose the decision maker. They believe that if you can choose the right one, they will change their lives for them. And you believers in politics, Trump supporters included, you guys are gamblers. Except the people that are actually spending their life savings at the slot machines, they actually win sometimes, as opposed to you. Because red or blue, the house always wins. So grow up, become an anarchist, and change your own life. Nobody's going to change it for you. Bosses don't respect whiners and complainers. So instead of talking about how bad things are, start building the leverage to negotiate with the boss. At least sit at the table with him, instead of just talking about begging him to treat you better. The master only respects the slave when the slave has a gun in their hand. So you should get one, even if you don't intend on killing the master. But of course, if you believe in politics, you don't believe there is such a thing as masters. So even if the 2022 Patrick Henry can destroy the belief in politics, someone else will fill the power vacuum. Another group of people is going to rise to take that throne. It will be the priests, or the scientists, or the doctors. The enslaver is going to fill the void, playing whichever role the person deep down wants to believe in, like a chess master. You know, they don't need to stay hardwired to a set strategy. They can give it to you anywhere you want it. They can beat you anywhere, on the feet, in the clinch, on the ground. You know, this is a true master. It's like a martial arts match, and they don't care what you do because they can do everything else. And why is this? Because our knowledge is inferior. And I'm not talking about the knowledge of history or mathematics or business. This is knowledge about your fears and your insecurities. Deep down, what you wish was true. That's what these people know. And that's why we're in slavery today. Politics prey on your desire for peace and quiet, and fear of responsibility and decision making. Religion preys on your feelings of inadequacy and shame and unworthiness, and your fear of confronting those feelings. Money preys on your impatience and your desire for instant gratification. Science and medicine prey on your desire for easy answers without putting in the time and effort to learn, develop the right worldview. The only way out of this existence is into ourselves and through the pain and trauma that we have within us. Only by confronting the issues within us that make us need a master and make us want to be a slave. Only then the world's going to become a truly better place. So, the American revolutionaries, they defeated the mighty British Empire, on which the sun never sets. But they could not defeat the devil deep inside us, because that's the true head of all empires. That's the real emperor, is the devil inside that makes us want to be a slave. But what they did do is created the nation that gave rise to the information age and the digital computer and the internet, through which this message of human dignity and destiny is reaching you right now. So it is thanks to that bloody war that people in all corners of the world have a chance to escape their hell and suffering through the ideas of God, love, and freedom. So to finish this, I want to use the last 4 lines of Patrick Henry's speech, and going into a piece of poetry, I guess some words that I wrote as my case, my appeal to pathos when it comes to the case for armed rebellion. So, in the words of Patrick Henry, is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. I'm not going out quietly. I'm not going out like a lamb. I'm going out on my shield. And more than that, I'm willing to go out in the mud, rotting away in an arm-marked grave somewhere, forgotten. I'm going to go out on the cross, with or without Jesus next to me. But I will be no thief. The only accusations that the executioners will be able to make against me is that I caused great destruction and pain to the crown, the throne, and the system, and the empire. And I'm not waiting for orders from upstairs. I won't need trumpets in the sky to call me into battle, because I will know. I've read God's word, both written and in the flesh. I know what to stand up for, when the time is to defend it, and how far is too far. So cross the line, motherfuckers. The word is clear. I require no further explanation. I need no addendums. The church has the Old Testament and the New, and the United States have the First Amendment and the Second, and in them natural law is preserved. Natural law secures the conditions for love to flourish, and love needs no reformation.